Nonprofits must have a logic model to conduct their business efficiently, and not just a high-level logic model, or one that is very vague about the organization's exact activities and direct outcomes resulting from these activities. Every nonprofit needs an internal working logic model. I want to stress the word working here, because the version of the logic model that I'm referring to is one in which an organization would refer to often to help ensure that they are steadfast and always focused on their bottom line and/or goals. Another benefit of developing an internal logic model is that it makes tracking and reporting on outcomes at the end of a funding cycle a whole lot easier. For this purpose, Humanistic Care has designed this visual to show the logic model theory of change in a nutshell. First off, your logic model should begin with your stated theory of change. Your theory of change is the one statement that guides every activity and/or service you provide. Your activities and/or services should all be working together to meet the one common goal, which follows the word then in your theory of change statement. Theory of change usually goes something like this. If we, then you would insert what it is that your organization primarily does. Then, next you would insert what change you hope to see in the world or in your community as a result of what your organization does. For the actual logic model, each activity should be in its own row and should have activity-specific corresponding inputs, outputs, data source, outcomes for short-term, outcomes for intermediate, and finally outcomes for the long term. Under inputs, your inputs should focus on the partners who will be working with you in the delivery of specific programs or services. It should also include the resources that you would have available to you in order to perform the activity. For example, your funders or in-kind donations. Activities. Activities are a brief description of each program or service that you offer. And again, these should be included in separate rows. Outputs. Outputs are the number of people served in each program, or the number of services provided. Outputs are not to be confused with outcomes. Many nonprofits make the mistake of telling how many people they served as it relates to their outcomes, when this should actually be under outputs. Data source. The data source is very important. This is the electronic system and/or method you plan to use to track your outcome data. It's very important that you track your outcome data on an ongoing basis so that when it's time for your reporting to funders at the end of your funding cycle, you have the data you need when you need it. Outcomes data should all be very specific and go beyond simply telling how many, as I mentioned before. How many is shown in outputs. Outcomes should show what positive change you expect to come about as a result of each activity. Outcomes also help to set a time frame of when you can expect to see certain results, thereby establishing accountability. Short, intermediate, and long-term outcomes allow you to give recognition to early wins, and they also will vary based on the individual activity. For more guidance with creating your internal logic model or theory of change, you can feel free to contact me, Keisha Brown, directly at 248-579-9423, or email me at qbrown@humanisticcare.com. If you are in the Detroit area, we host logic model workshops at the Michigan State University Detroit Center monthly. Please visit our website to register for the next session. Our website is humanisticcare.com.